So you're interested in developing your psychic abilities. You're in the right place because these abilities aren't only completely natural, but they can also help you navigate through your everyday life with clarity and confidence. Whether you're wondering how to attract a soulmate or land that promotion at your job, gain clarity on a big decision or an opportunity that's there for you, or start healing something deeper within yourself, your intuition already holds the answers. In this episode, I will walk you through the 4 main psychic abilities and the 3 most powerful ways to develop your psychic abilities that I have learned through my years of experience as a professional evidential medium and spiritual teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are ready to stop second guessing your intuition and start tuning into your inner guidance. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Rebel Mystic Podcast, where practical intuition meets elevated soul. I'm your host, Isabel, evidential psychic medium and spiritual teacher, and I'm here to help you activate your gifts, trust your inner voice, and embody your spiritual power. Let's rise together. Why developing psychic abilities matters. Psychic abilities are often referred to as extrasensory perception, also known or abbreviated as ESP or the sixth sense. Still, I want you to think of them more as energetic extensions of your physical senses. So think of it as spiritual sight or spiritual hearing, spiritual knowing, spiritual feeling. And these intuitive channels are actually how your spirit team communicates through to you. So whenever you're receiving that inner wisdom or that intuitive guidance, that's coming from like your higher self and your spirit guides, and they can guide you into making decisions about your purpose in life, your career, your love life even, and so much more. Your psychic senses are very powerful tools that can align you with the right opportunities to get you exactly where you want to be in life and guide you towards the most aligned path for you. But here's the thing. Are you actually listening to the intuitive and psychic information that's coming to you on a daily basis? Let's briefly discuss the 4 main psychic abilities so you can begin to understand the intuitive information that you receive from your spiritual team or even another person. The 4 main psychic abilities. These 4 intuitive senses are also known as the Clair abilities. You might actually hear that very often within the spiritual communities. First, we're going to talk about spiritual sight, or also known as clear seeing or clairvoyance. This is your ability to be able to perceive and get mental impressions of flashes or images. And it often comes through the same space of your imagination, the same area where you daydream. So typically, if you're having very vivid dreams at night, or you're a daydreamer, you have a lot of deja vu, you're typically maybe leaning a little bit more on the clairvoyant side. But the difference of imagination and the difference from your intuition and your psychic impressions is that your imagination is something that's triggered. You know, you might actually see something that triggers that image to pop up into your head. Whereas intuition and your psychic senses is very random, and usually it's unprompted. There's nothing that triggers that image to populate within your mind. And it's typically, again, it's very random. And also when I experience it personally, but everybody is different, is a quick flash, an image that pops up into my head. So a good example of this that I want to share with you that maybe you can relate to is sometimes I see a flash of an image of a friend or a family member that, I don't have any plans to see this person or to talk to this person today, but moments later they call me. Maybe later within that day, I end up bumping into them out in public. And then you think, oh, what a coincidence. I was literally just thinking of them earlier today. So that's how clairvoyance can work. Next, let's talk about the spiritual ability of hearing, also known as clear hearing or clairaudience. This is the ability to receive intuitive information or messages through sound or the inner voice or the inner dialogue. And typically when your spirit guides or your higher self are communicating with you, it's not in someone else's voice. You don't hear it in a man's voice or a female's voice or anything like that that's different from your own. It's typically a voice that's just your own voice, but the difference is that the information that comes through feels extremely inspired. It's those aha moments. It's the very helpful information and guidance that flows through during those times where you just need it. And it typically happens a lot for me. If I'm in the shower, if I'm driving, I get these really amazing, profound self-advice or realization, thoughts that pop up into my head. Also, if you are more leaning towards the side of clairaudience or clear hearing, you're typically very attuned to music. So listening to a song can trigger a flood of emotions within you. You can really vibe with it. You can really get into music and listening to it. But also within that, you can also get messages or hear something that you really need to hear right now through songs and the lyrics of the people singing them. Next is my favorite. It's the spiritual ability of feeling, also known as clear feeling or clairsentience. These are known as the people who are the empaths that can really feel and sense people's emotions. This ability is your emotional and energetic sensitivity. You can sense the energetic and emotional shifts within people, places, or situations, sometimes before even anything is even said to you about what's going on. So I want to take you through this quick exercise so you can feel the subtle differences of different emotions within yourself. So real quick, I want you to think of something that you absolutely cannot stand. You despise it. It makes you really angry when you think about it. Like it's icky. You don't like it. Okay. Something that you can't stand. And I don't want you to analyze it. I don't want you to depict it. And I just want you to be aware in your body and feel in your body how that feels when you think of this thing that you cannot stand. Just take a moment here and feel into that. And now I want you to think of something that you love and that brings so much joy to you. And this can be, a kid, a family member, a pet, your best friend, maybe your hobby, something that brings a lot of joy to you. I want you to think of that. And just be aware how that feels in your body. Be aware of how different that feels than when you were thinking of something that made you angry. And just sit there and sense that for a little bit. Physically, this might feel like expansion. This might feel like a release. This might feel like upliftment within your mood when you think of something that you love versus something that you can't stand. And again, it's very subtle, but maybe for you, maybe you experienced it stronger. Maybe you didn't really experience any type of feeling. But just being very aware in your body is how you're going to start to feel these very subtle energy shifts. And that's very important with your psychic abilities. And this is also how you can kind of sense the emotions of other people, because the one thing that we need to know, and it has been scientifically studied, is that we all have electromagnetic fields. Every single human has an electromagnetic field. So when we have a certain emotion and a certain intensity, sometimes this emotion is amplified through our electromagnetic field. So certain emotions, certain intensity of those emotions, you can feel from someone else's energy. You can get certain sensations within your body through that. So just really cool, but something to know. The fourth ability that we're going to touch on right now is the spiritual ability of knowing or clear knowing or claircognizance. Now, this is when you actually know something without actually having any evidence of knowing that or how you could possibly know that, but there's just absolutely no logical reason of how you could know that piece of information. So for a quick example, just for you to put this in a real life perspective, let's say that you and like a group of girlfriends, you've had plans, you're going to go out for dinner, and you had these plans for weeks now. But all of a sudden, the day of, you just have this, thought that pops up into your head, and you're like, I don't think that these plans are going to fall through. For some reason, I just feel that something's going to come up, something's going to happen, and we're not going to go out for dinner tonight. And then maybe an hour or two later, you get a text from your friend saying, hey, I'm sick, I'm going to have to cancel plans. And that's how the claircognizance actually comes through. It's just this inner knowing that you know that something's going to happen, or you know, you just know, okay? And that even if it's someone that, like, you say you're meeting a person and say this person's very charismatic, they're very charming, but everybody likes them, but you know that there is something just slightly off. You can't put your finger on it. You don't exactly know why you know that or how you know that. You can't make any logical explanation for it. But then later you get validated that your intuitive nudge was right. Maybe this person wasn't who they said they were, or they weren't as authentic as they were. And last but not least, I know that you all have been waiting for this, but how to develop your psychic abilities. The first thing that I want to say first and foremost is when it comes to developing your psychic abilities, I always recommend working with the strongest ability that comes up for you. So whether you have the psychic ability of sight or hearing or feeling or knowing, whatever your strongest ability is, start working with that one. Of course, you can build and you can strengthen all of your other abilities if you choose to, if you want to, and I strongly recommend doing that. But start and begin working with the strongest ability. It's just going to make the intuitive information and how you interpret things just go a lot smoother in your development. And if you don't know what your strongest ability is, then I encourage you to check out the description below. I have a link there, and within that link, there is a quiz so you can discover what your strongest psychic ability is, so you can start using that ability to start gaining and receiving that information from your spiritual team and your inner guidance. 3 tips to develop your psychic abilities. The first tip that I want to give you guys is to practice being present. A lot of people are going to say that meditation is super important because you want to clear your mind, but you can actually integrate being present with meditation. It's called active meditation. And the importance here is that you really want to be aware within your body, within your surroundings, within what's going on around you, because the number one block to receiving intuitive messages is being stuck in the past or the future. Okay. So we want to be present in the now, in the moment. Because here's an example. Let's say that you had a really, really heated argument with one of your family members. Let's say it's like your sister or something, had a really heated argument during breakfast with your sister. And all of a sudden I call you up and I say, hey, you know what? I have some amazing, helpful advice that I want to give you based off of something that you told me, a couple days ago. I want to help you out here. And then you just kind of go on. You're like, yeah, I'm listening, but you're not actually listening. You're so focused on the past of this situation that happened with your sister earlier, and you're stuck in your mind thinking, okay, if I could do this again, I would say this differently, or I would do this differently. And you're not listening to what I'm actually saying to you. So think of that as being your intuition. When you're so stuck in the past, or even if you're spiraling into the future, thinking about things that didn't happen yet or won't happen, you're not open and present to hearing what your psychic abilities and your psychic impressions are bringing you at the moment, what your spirit team wants you to know. You know what I mean? The mind chatter drowns out the intuitive nudges. So again, like I said, a lot of people say focus on meditation, clearing your mind, focus being in the present moment. But I mean, literally, you don't have to have a quiet space where you can sit down and dedicate 30 minutes of your time each day to just meditating and sitting there. I get it. I'm a mom of 2. I'm very busy. I don't have time to just sit and meditate all of the time. So some things that you can do is just, again, being fully present. If you have time to go take a little nature walk around your neighborhood or in the woods, just be very present when you're walking around, really take in the environment and how you feel. Engage all of your senses as well. So what can you feel right now? Can you feel the clothes on your body? Can you see any of the details around you? What can you hear around you in your environment? And any type of information that's kind of like flowing to you, don't completely dismiss it. Just be open to it, be mindful of it. And you can do this during everyday tasks. You can do this while you're washing dishes. You can do this in the shower. You can do this while you're cleaning. You can do this while you're mowing the lawn. It doesn't matter. Just get present in the moment. And then also practice deep listening in all of your conversations, really listening to the other person, because this is not only going to strengthen your clairaudient ability, but we have to have that sense of focus when we're trying to intentionally tap in with our spiritual team and really gain that advice and that guidance that we're looking for. Number 2 is to educate yourself. Get familiar with how your intuition and how that information shows up for you specifically. So you could actually just get a basic foundation understanding of your psychic abilities and your intuition by reading a book on psychic development, or you can take a class, or the thing that I always recommend is taking a mentorship, whether it be live or, one-on-one or group. I always recommend taking a mentorship because having someone else work with you or working in a group, some other people are going to be able to catch your blind spots of, maybe why something's not working for you, why you're not getting information, or, things like that to help kind of guide you in the right direction so you can open up better. That's why I always recommend having a mentor or a coach work with you, because it can be super beneficial, especially if you are very serious about developing your abilities or you plan on doing this professionally. The more you learn about your psychic abilities, the easier it becomes to understand the messages that your spirit team is conveying to you. Third is practice and track your intuitive hits or accuracy, this is the most important step. And I say this because practicing what you're learning and applying it in your life, you're going to see so much more development and so much more growth within your abilities if you're actually actively applying what you're learning. So don't just read books, don't just take courses. Apply what you learn from those books, apply what you learn from those courses, and be consistent with it, because it's the only way that you're going to be developing is if you're consistent with your practice. And the other important thing is that not every psychic works the same. We all receive information very differently. So track your intuitive information that you're receiving. Track if it's accurate for you. So let's say if you have an event that's coming up, like, later in the evening, maybe you have a dinner with family or something like that. And you're like, okay, what's going to happen during this dinner with my family? And then just like write down some random things, like, what's something that someone might bring up? What's playing on the TV in the background? What is, who's going to be late? Who's going to be like extra early? Who's going to bring, what food are they going to make? Like, write down all of those things. And then later at the end of that, say dinner party or whatever it may be, go ahead and check off what was accurate, what may have been a little bit off, but you can still place it as being accurate, and what is just completely off. But the important thing is that you're tracking your accuracy. You're going to see your growth over time, and you're going to start noticing and being able to discern a lot more whenever you're having intuitive hits that are accurate versus the ones that are just mind chatter. If this episode resonated with you, then I encourage you again to go ahead and take the quiz that's linked in the description below this video so you can figure out what your strongest ability is, and you can start working and getting that intuitive guidance and information and clarity and direction, all that good stuff that you need today. And also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if it resonated with you. Also, so you don't miss any other intuitive or psychic development and any other information about connecting with spirit or your spirit team. And remember, your abilities aren't just some cool skills to show people or to show off. They are a sacred part of your soul's blueprint. All you have to do is to say yes to developing them. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rebel Mystic podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Want to go deeper in your development? Explore my signature mentorship, Awaken the Psychic Goddess Within. Linked in the show notes. Until next time, stay grounded and stay open. Your magic is needed.